From the Beaver County Auto Studios, it is another Penguins live chat. And, of course, Beaver County Auto, they'll make a Bubba Beaver believer out of you. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. It's such a gorgeous day outside, but I don't think Penguins fans are too happy today. Despite winning 6 of their last 10, getting points in 6 or 7, it doesn't feel that good, does it? Look, I see it, and we're going to dissect a lot of that today. If you are sensitive, if you are one of those fans who are more concerned about your favorite player than what is going wrong, this is probably not the live chat for you. I will warn you straight up front. If you're new, I know I'm loving all of the new attention that Pittsburgh Sports Live, Pittsburgh Hockey Now is getting. We've achieved a prime Google position, and we are just making hay while the sun shines. I appreciate each and every single one of you. For those of you who are just getting acquainted with me, I don't spare feelings, and I've had about 18, 19 years now in the hockey world, inside and outside, covering the NHL, working in the minor leagues, getting to know a lot of people who are now working in the NHL. The opinions expressed herein are not haphazard, emotional, or designed for reaction. They are in search of the actual truth. And I was going back over my preseason predictions, just because, of course, the Christmas break is coming and we need to fill content. So I'm going to do a piece kind of seeing what I've got right and what I got wrong. And I will tell you, I got more than I expected right so far. So we'll get into all of that. Now, last night, of course, the Penguins lose to the Anaheim Ducks 4-2. They squandered the third straight game in which they've squandered a 2-goal lead. Within that time frame, 4 2-goal leads have been squandered. So this is not a coincidence or a rough patch. And I don't know which you want to get into first, because the Penguins are lacking something, or things rather, and very specifically. This is not kind of last year where malaise just kind of seeped into the team and rotted them a little bit. Now, this is far different. This is structural, quite frankly. And so we're going to get into that. I want to thank everybody on the live chat. I see Hugh answered the question, what do the Penguins lack? One word, Hugh answered here on the live chat, heart. I feel like Gene Hackman. Miles and miles of heart, if you've ever seen The Replacements. Hugh, I've got a column half finished in my other browser window. That's exactly where I'm going with it, too. There is a ticker problem with the Penguins, and I don't want to flush it out too much just yet, because there is one thing that's going to help the Penguins with that ticker issue. This guy. Patrick Hornquist looks like he will return tomorrow night against the Washington Capitals. JSD was reassigned to Wilkes-Barre this morning, 9:30. That creates a roster spot. You've got to think that it is indeed Hornquist, who has had some injury trouble this year. Well, you can see there, Clutterbuck caught him pretty well. So Hornquist has played 24 games in that time, 19 points, 12 goals, 7 assists. He's really been, I think, the Penguins' leader on and off the ice. When things were going sideways and miserable, he was not afraid to stand in the middle of the room and say, this will get better. Really kind of giving the rah-rah speeches did Hornquist. So I think as the team structure begins to evolve over the last couple years, as there are now more spaces in the core for guys to really lead, Hornquist, I think, is filling that. He's always, of course, been part of the team and a very integral part of the energy and the intensity and all of that he brings. But now I feel like he has more followers. Maybe that's how I'm searching to phrase it. Hugh, but very good call on that. Let's see here. Brad says, I miss the hunger we had of the back-to-back cup runs from the younger AHL guys. Wilson, Rust, Sherry, Kuhnackel, Porter, all fighting to beat each other for roster spots every single night. Was Porter part of the 16 deal? Or was that 15 that Kevin Porter was around? But Brad, point well taken. There's in addition, I think, to heart. And let me explain before we get too deep into this chat. Hugh, I think, you and I are probably on the same wavelength reading the tea leaves here. Heart doesn't necessarily mean intensity. Heart means doing the things that you don't want to do, but you have to do in order to win. Heart means taking that extra stride to get to the puck in a dirty area. Heart means getting back on defense. Heart means playing a different style sometimes. Heart means dumping the damn puck in when the other team stacks the blue line. Heart means finishing your check, staying with your man in the defensive zone. Heart means filling a role in the team that maybe you don't really want to fill. All of those things are heart. Miles and miles of heart. And I named about 4 players there, didn't I? I'll let you sort out that little diatribe. And you know what? I realized that, I forgot to, I forgot to turn off my phone. Hang on one second. Son of a gun. Well, wasn't that just a little bit obnoxious? And I apologize for that. Let's get everything back and going. I think we can get everything back and going. Anyway, can I throw a temper tantrum right now? Because now, oh, there we are. There I am. Let's... It'll be a little bit different of a shot. Nothing like wasting a minute and a half of a live chat because you forget to put part of the studio on airplane mode. So it goes, huh? Okay. Anyway, we were talking about miles and miles of heart before I got a call from an unknown number. The Penguins, Hornquist will make a big difference in that. I dropped a note, and let me pull up the article here that just got me some love, and it got me some scorn. And let me find it here. Yep, here it is. Oh, I can't... I guess I can't show you the article I wrote for Sunday. The Malkin and Kessel show is uplifting and toxic. Let me try to relaunch everything. Hey, there it is. So I guess I can reset things on the fly. No, maybe not. Frustrating, yes. Let's ask for it back. Hey, there we go. Anywho, as I was saying, this is the article that became a bit controversial. I don't understand how it's controversial, really. The Penguins' middle lines 2 and 3, and I waited until after Mike Sullivan said something, quite frankly, to go there. I had been under this impression, and I think a lot of you here on the live chat with me kind of know that I was leading the horse to that water. I was setting it up, but I didn't want to dive in. No cannonball until Mike Sullivan went there. The Penguins' second and third lines have been a problem. Now, Malkin and Kessel have alternated. Scoring, being scored on. Scoring, being scored on. I know fans love to go to the stat sheet and say 32 points, 36 points. Yes, when you're giving up 36 points. Is 36 points scored that impressive? When you're allowing the ice to be tilted against your team because you've missed assignments or willfully not engaged in those assignments. That's a toxic thing, and that spills to the rest of the team. And when we talk about heart, it spills directly to the Penguins' second line. I took offense to some of my colleagues calling Malkin lazy. That I thought was over the line and personal. I do not think Malkin is lazy. I've never seen evidence of laziness. What I see is Malkin trying to do too much, trying to be the superhero, trying to go play offense. It's not laziness so much. Because you look through points of the game. Last night, he was hard on the forecheck and deep into the corners and doing those things that Evgeny Malkin should do. But when he and Kessel start that Globetrotters road show, they derail the entire team. When those two start thinking that they can out-talent the opposition by themselves, the Penguins are in effect screwed. Because it takes 15 minutes of 16 minutes of your 5-on-5 time and wastes it. Not only does it waste that time for the Penguins, it benefits the other team because they get offense. And that means the third line is going backwards. That means the fourth line is backwards. And somebody has to reverse that. And that pushback, that stopping the bleeding and pushback that Mike Sullivan talks about, it begins on the second line. Crosby and company are always going to have the other team's top line. It's what happens with the rest of the group on both sides that generally determines the game. I thought last night Crosby and Rust played really well. But where was everybody else? Where was... in fact, we've got... I should have actually played the video when I got the phone call. Evgeny Malkin. Here is Malkin last night in the postgame.
No, I think guys try hard, but maybe not enough. It's we lose focus 20 minutes and they win game. I mean, we blocking shot. We do it right thing, but it's bad luck a couple times. And last game, this game, again they score after face up, puck balance, and they score right away. It's I know I'm not thinking we not play hard. We try to play hard. We just a little bit more not 100%, 110.
Gino, can this be fixed?
Huh?
Can this be fixed?
You can't fix anything, it's we're professional, we have a great group, we have great organization, great coachy stuff, you know, like we watch video tomorrow, like, you know, it's like, because we have time, like it's like 50 more games, and of course we can fix, you know, like just a small step every day, you know, and like we understand it's not easy year, but we have a great team, and we believe like we can like fix and we can back.
What do you think the power play has struggled? I know you guys had some chances there in the third period.
We try like change, you know, with like today, like we changed side me and field, you know, and we scored first power play, and after, you know, again like we try to play like casual, like try to play easy, you know. It's like, I don't know, like it's we need like shoot more a little bit, you know, like support each other, you know. It's like we need to work like a little bit, like break out a little bit better, like because like if like not try break out, you know, we lose like power, we're back, you know, we're back again, like it's like ping pong game, you know. It's like a little bit hard. We need to understand like it's like not much power play every game, you know. A couple power plays, we need like help the team to win, we need to score.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
All righty, so that was Evgeny Malkin. By the way, I haven't heard that. I was standing there. I had a little bit of trouble hearing Evgeny, but so it goes. By the way, my favorite comment that I've received in a long time. Here, let me just read some of the stuff that we get. The thing that I see is the toxic bile that oozes out of your columns. It is amazing, but you instantly come to the defense of or rationalize the play of certain players if it fits your narrative. Yes, I have a narrative to wreck the Penguins. Anyway, back to the comment. Even those with career-long negative metrics, I guess he means Jack Johnson, escape my wrath if they're not on my target list. Yes, they're protected. I have an entire little list. Anyway, do the 2017-18 Penguins even make the playoffs without Phil? That's debatable. Well, no, they probably wouldn't have. And you distribute more cheap shots than Tom Wilson at the blue line. Speaking of that Capitals forward, why don't you move to his hometown of Toronto? I hear they are always on the lookout for a Sicario. What the hell's a Sicario? A Sicario-like muckraker with an axe to grind. Yes, that's me. I'm going to wreck your fan base and your team because I hate good players. I hate Americans. Back to the comment. You would fit right in. There are a myriad of reasons for the Penguins not fulfilling their potential. Yeah, there are. But those are not addressed by you in any detail. Well, this is one column, Skippy. I have addressed like every detail if you'd read more than 8 seconds and not say stupid things. Back to the column, or the comment. Oh, but if you get the chance to launch a broadside salvo against Kessel, you relish the opportunity. Oh, don't get me wrong. I was gonna go a little bit blue there. Anyway, I had a steak dinner and a glass of wine as I wrote the column. I just couldn't believe my good luck to bash Phil Kessel. I haven't commented before on any hockey board, but your continual and unfair beating of this dead horse urged me to respond. You make Steve Simmons look like a rational human being, and that is saying a lot. This is the crap that I get. I loved it. Sure. You know, some sunlight just will never penetrate parts of the earth. You know what I mean? No matter what you do, there's just not going to be any sunlight in a few of those places. I want to get to a few more comments here. It is a live chat before we get into Derek Brassard, Tanner Pearson, Oli Mata. These are also some of those things holding the Penguins back from fulfilling their potential that I never address, right? I never address these things. Hugh says JJ was to blame for that one play, though. That was bad. You mean the Anaheim second goal, Hugh, where Jack Johnson stepped over and made a hit. Now, I watched it before I commented, I went and rewatched the replay. Obviously, I can't show it here. That would violate NHL rules. Although, I'm pretty sure I could get away with it. I don't need to make enemies at this point, do I? Johnson stepped over and made a hit at the blue line. The puck actually came loose. Had Olli Maatta, well, I'm not sure how Johnson and Maatta wound up backpedaling at the same time. Kind of a discombobulated line change a little bit there. But Maatta just had seeded the zone. He was backing up. Had Maatta held his ground there, he easily pokes that puck back out to center, or at least is there to play Kiefer Sherwood. Not to be confused with Sherwood Schwartz, or the Schwartz be with you. Sherwood, with Maatta backing in, had a great screen, drove Maatta all the way to the hash marks, essentially. He unleashed a pretty good wrister. DeSmith kind of wanted it back. I thought he could have, I think, tracked the puck a little better, at least in DeSmith's opinion. I think that was his opinion on the play, that he, if he had to do over again, he would have tried to track the puck a little better. But it was, there again, that's the plus-minus thing is a team stat. Four guys did their job. And that leads us, I just do not know what to say anymore. There was a rough start, a bounce back, and I don't know where that bounce back has gone. I will say this. A few games ago when it was Maatta and Juuso Riikola, for whatever reason, Maatta seems to have a great chemistry with Riikola. Or Riikola. Now, they changed it, and I Riikola. Maatta has a chemistry with him for whatever reason. I think it's part of the skating. Riikola can fill in some of those gaps for Maatta and allow Maatta to be a bit of a flat footer. Or they speak the same language. I don't know what it is. I think going forward, and I've come to this opinion, if the Penguins are to dress Olli Maatta, they have to dress Riikola. If the Penguins are not going to dress him, I think Ruedel is an equal option at this point. I don't know what to tell you about Olli. I wish I had better answers. I don't know where it goes with him. He and Alexiak are a brutal pairing. You saw a rebound in Jamie Alexiak's game, and this is kind of what really led me to just throw my hands up over the last week on this topic. Because when Alexiak played with Dumoulin for a game that Letang was out, game and a half, we saw the good Alexiak again. We saw a guy who has a bit of dynamic stuff. And then he gets put, then he and Maatta go back together, and it's just an absolute abysmal black hole of defense and puck possession and everything. There's not much redeeming value to it. And that's being nice. They were, with 5 minutes to go in the game last night, that pairing, a 25% Corsi. I think they rebounded late in the game to get over 30%, like 30, 32, 36, whatever it was. It's just not there. By the way, Winnipeg. And Winnipeg was there again last night. Third straight game that they have scouted. St. Louis was back in the building. I'll always put the scouts in my pregame preview. So St. Louis has gotten a good eyeful, but St. Louis hasn't sent any bigwigs. I know the Blues like to send, before a trade, the Blues like to send their management. Last year, Don Maloney, who's the assistant GM to Doug Armstrong, came in and watched the Penguins. Was it Penguins and Colorado? Yeah, because Stastny was there. And we were wondering, Blues and Penguins, but it turns out, I'm sorry, Maloney is in Winnipeg. My bad, because Winnipeg got Stastny. But yeah, Winnipeg has been sending their director of scouting to check out the Penguins. St. Louis has just been sending, no, I think I do have it right. St. Louis did get, you know what, sometimes the wires get tangled. You know what I mean, though. St. Louis hasn't sent anything more than a pro scout. Winnipeg has been sending their director of pro scouting, and I think he was there again last night. I know when somebody from Winnipeg was, and I think it was their director of scouting. So that would be 3 straight. And yeah, let's fast forward just a wee little bit, because let's get into this topic, shall we? Derek Brassard, 24 games, 9 points. That -2 is unfortunately earned. I don't know what the Penguins can do. I think everyone concedes that Derek Brassard is a very good hockey player who's had a lot of success in several places. This guy has been a top-line center on some good teams. I don't know if he or Duchesne was top-line in Ottawa. I'll let you argue that one. Take your pick. Bottom line, top 2 center. Same in New York. And it is just not working. I think Brassard is very much a Mike Sullivan kind of player. I think he is intense, he's serious, he's gritty, he's all of those things that I think Sullivan likes in his players. He, however, does not bring a lunch pail when he's on the third line. He did for a while, as I wrote in the Derek Brassard is sinking column for Monday morning. When he came back from injury, he was third line. He and Zach Aston Reese were electric. They were really heavy into in the black in terms of positive scoring chances versus those allowed. They didn't convert, and Aston Reese is not a prolific scorer, but they were getting those chances. And if that trend had continued, the lamp would have been lit numerous times, and that negative goal differential would have been erased had they continued. But then, to get a spark, the Penguins dropped Phil Kessel on that line, and everything went to hell. I really circle that Winnipeg game when they dropped Phil Kessel onto the Penguins' third line as the moment that Derek Brassard just outside of his time on the top line left wing hasn't been an effective third line center in that last 2 weeks. The noticeable jump when he gets bumped up, it's not a half step. I mean, it's a huge difference in the player. So the Penguins really have a choice here. And Jim Rutherford is far smarter than I, even though I try to play a smart guy on YouTube. I think Rutherford knows this as well, that Derek Brassard, they have to make a decision on him. They have to deal him and get a third-line center who is happy to be a third-line center, or there is an alternative here. Because as we reported a few weeks ago, the Penguins were kicking tires on middle-line help, and they were prepared to deal Olli Maatta to get it. Now, maybe Mata's hurt his trade value in the last week. I can't speak to that. I can't speak to what other teams see. If the Penguins can push that change of scenery narrative and get something, real and tangible for Mata, they're willing to do that. If the Penguins can get, say, a third-line center, they can move Derek Brassard to that top-line left wing. I don't know. Can Jake Gensel skate beside Mata? Malkin? Could Jake Gensel skate along the new third-line center? That's, I think, something that the Penguins have to be intrigued by. Because Brassard has been so good on that left wing. Really creating offense. And you watch it, and it's noticeable. It's almost like watching this revelation. Okay, he has it. But I also take umbrage, and I know the Penguins do, with the fact that he doesn't have it in a different role. I'll let you parse and dissect and throw the mud on the wall from there, right? Let me get here back to the chat. Brian says Crosby needs to stop taking every third shift off, throwing cross-ice passes while passing up open shots and blind drop passes at the blue line, go the other way, then drifting to the bench. Crosby has been bitten by the cross-ice pass a little bit lately. I think you're spot on with that. Brian, I don't necessarily think I would go with you on taking shifts off. Definitely, I wouldn't go that. It's one of those things when you're frustrated, you see every little detail that, I would like to see the Penguins actually rush off for line changes too. But then I look at the other teams, and it's like the pitcher running to first base. It's one of those things where you'd like to pound the table and say that's a little thing you have to do, but the reality of the situation is that it's not an issue. Mr. Probert, how are you, sir? Brassard is frustrating as all heck. Just think he doesn't fit as a checking bottom six player. Frustrating as all heck, yes, because I've defended Brassard as a player and as a person and so many things. And so it is frustrating when the player kind of recedes. But I've tried to do that this season. Let's strip away that whole bottom six mentality. Because he's played with Patrick Hornquist and Dominic Simone and Brian Rust and Zach Aston Reese. And those guys, the line mates I just mentioned, and Phil Kessel, are nothing to sneeze at. No, he's not playing with Jake Gensel. But other than that, he's played with every other winger that the Penguins have used in a top six role. So I reject that because the biggest difference between, let's say, being the second and third line center with the Penguins, first of all, is power play time. But number two is the number of defensive zone starts. And that is because Evgeny Malkin and Phil Kessel don't often enough keep the puck in the offensive zone. And so the third line really is going backwards before they go forwards more than 50% of the time. Or about 50% of the time. And so that is a little bit of a deal with the Penguins. Sorry, I want to get to more of your questions. Can you explain to me how Riikola gets benched after his game versus LA? I don't get it. Downright mind-boggling to me. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that as well. I'm a little bit surprised that Chad Ruedel hasn't drawn in lately, too. I would probably go with an Alexiak-Ruedel pairing or a Johnson-Ruedel. Pedersen, give me a guy with the right, when Ruedel gets inserted, he's really good for the first couple of games. And then he gets kind of big. His game gets too big for himself. He makes some mistakes, and then the Penguins yank him out. Kind of like, your second catcher in baseball. He gets on a hot streak, you ride him for a few days, and then you get him out before, you get him out before it's over. Let me get back here. Let's see here. Will we keep seeing 87 and 59 on the PK? We've seen a bit of that. I think that's been because Derek Grant has taken some penalties lately. Matt Cullen has taken some penalties lately. I think that's more a matter of necessity than it is by choice, Jared. So, however, Crosby's a heck of a PK. Crosby is a good penalty killer. Train fan, how are you? Great to have you back as well. Who do you think will be traded next, and who do you want back in the trade? Not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I've laid out dots as I can connect them. I've been on the phone with as many league contacts and industry sources as I can possibly get to, and no one's hearing the Penguins' name, which is quite odd because we know the Penguins are active, but no one knows what the Penguins are about to do. So take that for whatever it's worth. When Jim Rutherford is in the bunker, and I think he is right now, no one finds out what he's doing until he wants you to know. He's stealth. He's a smooth operator like that. It could be a nibble around the edges move for, second or third line winger. It could be a big one. It could be one of those earth moving under your feet, quake kind of moves. I'm an impatient guy. I'm an aggressive guy. In that chair, in Jim Rutherford's chair, just me personally, I'd be looking at it. I'd be really looking at a big move. Letang, Crosby, safe. Malkin, safe. Yes, Malkin, safe. Dumoulin probably has far more value to the Penguins than he does trade market, so he's probably safe from that. Other than that, I would probably let it ride. If I can get better by dealing anyone else, okay. Jake Muzzin mentioned here. Elliot Friedman tied the Penguins to Muzzin, who, by the way, in the game, was it Saturday they played the Kings? You will have to forgive me. I am utterly exhausted. I don't know if you realized how much I've been writing on PittsburghHockeyNow.com. I've been putting out more content than I've ever put out. I think before last Wednesday, I had written 17 pieces already. And it's, I'm looking forward to this holiday break. No question about it. Muzzin beat Malkin and Kessel to the offensive zone, and then was able to one past Matt Murray. By the way, let's talk about Matt Murray here, because I feel like I've got to Brassard. I don't know what else to say about Brassard. It's kind of like the same Ole Mata thing. The player we're seeing is not the player that is, and I just don't really have great explanations for it. Do you? If you've got a great explanation, I'm literally all ears. But it's, you know, I got nothing for you as in terms of the whys. But where was I going with that? Oh, before let's see here. I know some of you want Malkin gone, which is Malkin is still part of the beating heart of the Penguins, and I think let me veer off here. Let me just put aside my notes. I've mentioned this earlier in the season, and let's maybe dive into this as an umbrella to all the topics we're talking about, all the topics the fans really want to pile on. The Penguins do not yet know their identity. They have not yet accepted who and what they are at 31 years old. And that's Hornquist turns 32 in 14 days. Yeah, I just looked it up. He's 31 years, 351 days. Hornquist, Malkin, Crosby, Letang, Kessel, they're all about 31. Crosby, the game is coming to him. This is, I think, he's becoming vintage. Because the style and form the Penguins must adhere to be successful right now is maximum effort, go Deadpool, simple, and relentless. That's Crosby. That, you know, the Penguins need to follow him to the gates of hell. Malkin and Kessel have not yet totally bought in to that. They're still playing east-west and trying to be pretty, and they're the ones making the awful play at the blue line. They're the ones with the cross-ice pass more often than not that is off a leg, is misdirected, goes the other way. Third line, just cross that off entirely. Until we see Derek Brassard, third line is almost not in the discussion. And the fourth line. I think the fourth line and the first line embody the Penguins' identity. Got a little bit of hiccups here. Cullen and Grant really read each other well. They've got a nice chemistry. Last night, the give and goes, working the low cycle, I thought was really good, especially in the third period. Garrett Wilson might not be the best hockey player in the Penguins system. Hell, he might not even be the best hockey player, might not be one of the top 25, 27 players in the Penguins organization. But he fits exactly where he's at. He's part of the identity the Penguins need to embrace. And that is, they have to grind. They have to begin to use their size advantage and begin to grind. And last night when Anaheim transitioned from, it was a bit of a mess in the neutral zone in the sense that Anaheim just clogged the whole thing. Whether they were in a soft 1-2-2 or it was a 1-4 at the red, doesn't matter a hill of beans, really. But when they got the Penguins in the second period, when they got the Penguins on their heels and they turned it up, and that backwards neutral zone counterattack became an attack. The Penguins had no pushback, no punchback, because they were still going to that playbook of skate around the perimeter and find some space and work your way in and get a deflection, get a tip, get a nice pass and a wrist shot from the slot, or get a wrist shot from. They were still in that mode. And when Anaheim turned it up on them, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So, and then you compound that with at least one of the pairings, the Alexiak-Mata pairing, being unable to move the puck out of the zone, losing battles and chasing. And and being on the wrong side of it too often, and you've got a recipe for disaster. If and when the Penguins embrace their identity, what they would have done in the second period, after a few minutes or several minutes of the Ducks blitzing them, hell, let's say a good 5 minutes of that, you start chipping it in and pounding them in the corner and cycling it low. Just take the puck away. Keep it. It's simple. And that, I think, is what Sullivan is preaching. Stop thinking you're the best. Start being the best. Start doing those little things that are necessary. And when you take the puck away, that slows the game down. It calms the game down. And you've got the puck. A deflection goes in, a greasy goal off a skate, maybe a rebound goal. All of those become possible. Those aren't possible when you're back in your own zone on your heels. Let me get back to the chat board here. I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent. Oh. There. Thank you, Addict. Clifford, does anyone else think that the NHL has been the most all-around competitive that it has ever been in the history of the league? Everyone is within arm's reach of their division. Yeah, it really is competitive this year. I don't know if it's kind of that parity mediocrity or if because speed and youth has become the order of the day, teams are able to compete less expensively. It's easier to find a Brian Rust than it is a Phil Kessel. It's easier to find Connor Sherry. And so Buffalo is, by the way, fourth best team in the league. Buffalo? Yeah. Youth and speed right there. And that exuberance that comes with it. Team defense trying to force plays. Yeah. Stop forcing the play. Play it where it lies, Happy Gilmore. Get it into the corner. Work it. Pound the other team. Ground and pound a little bit. Now, the Ducks are a big enough team that the Penguins couldn't have necessarily pounded them. But they could have controlled the game more. The Penguins have an ability because they're big, they're fast, and they've got that skill to stick handle. The Penguins have have that skill set that I don't know that anybody else really has. Another player I want to touch on, who's got to up his game again. Tanner Pearson has receded into the shadows as well. I thought he was great for portions of the LA game. I mean, he decided he was going to score, and he stripped Drew Doughty and, just blasted it past quick. Amazing play. If you can do that to Drew Doughty, what's stopping Tanner Pearson from doing that to lesser defensemen? And there's that maximum effort thing. You'd like to see him finish more. The Penguins desperately need a bit more finish. Last night, they just bricked it on John Gibson. They might have to sew a new crest on Gibson's jersey because the Penguins just kept hitting it. Now, that's good positioning by Whitehall Johnny Gibson. Take nothing away. But the Penguins had too many good opportunities to not score. And they should. Garrett Wilson is on waivers ahead of the roster freeze. That is probably just a procedural move because Day goes down. It's almost like a Harry Belafonte song, isn't it? D goes down. Wilson through waivers. That gives the Penguins 2 slots. That means they can make a move. They can activate Simone and Hornquist, all kinds of options there. I don't think anyone's going to snag Garrett Wilson. I don't think so. Here, let's. I don't know. I should give that thing away. That was the Goodwill find when we just built this studio the first weekend. That thing is falling apart like you wouldn't believe. Wow, we've done 50 minutes already. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. I know I'm just a little bit tired today. Just I'm in the quicksand a little bit. Going through the comments here. Okay, so we've hit Pearson, and I don't have the patience. Let me tell you about a story. I'm moving to a new place this month, actually. The new folks who are moving into my place are trying to get Comcast installed before they move in. So Comcast calls me like twice a day. Hey, where are you moving? Hey, where are you moving? I'm like, relax. I'll tell you when I know. Because I just needed a smaller place. I had this big, enormous place that was cold and drafty, and it was just me. I was done. So Comcast disconnected my service last night in order to install the new people's Comcast next week. So I woke up, Lord, at this point I sleep on the couch in my clothes, wake up and start writing again. That's kind of my life. Realize I've got no internet. I call up Comcast and I say, hey, Comcast, what the hell? Oh, well, we can turn it back on. What's your account number? I have the bills sent to my email. I'm like, I don't know. Can you look that up? I said, I would if I had internet. And this became a circular conversation. I seem to have a lot of these circular conversations with stupid people. I'm like, I can't look up the account number until you give me internet. Like, oh, well, we can't give you internet until you give us the account number. I'm like, but you turned it off without my account number. So, anywho, when I go home tonight, I have to fix that issue somehow. Or live on my phone for a week. One of the two. Stupid. Like, did you see my tweet last night? Like, stupid people drive me insane. I was starving after the game last night, so it's 12:30. I'm in the drive-thru at McDonald's. It takes 15 minutes. Like 4 cars, 15 minutes. Whatever. I'm hungry. McDonald's is the only place open on the north side last night, unless I wanted a 7-Eleven hot dog. No thanks. Not that Mickey D's is. 15 minutes. So the minivan in front of me pulls up to the window after 15 minutes in line, looking at the menu board. First question. Welcome to McDonald's. May I help you? The minivan driver says, are you open? Blood begins to boil. Of course they're open, you idiot. And the speaker replies, yes, we are. Go ahead with your order. The minivan driver goes, oh, 1 second. So you've had 15 minutes. You waited in line to ask if they were open? And of course, the minivan driver at 12:45, 1 a.m., can I have a milkshake? The McDonald's milkshake is down 22 hours a day. You can't have a milkshake. Not at 1 a.m. And of course, there's no milkshake available. The machine is down, of course. I'm listening to this. I just, whenever you see a minivan in line at McDonald's at 1 a.m., you know hilarity will ensue. And so I had my window down just waiting to hear this conversation, and it didn't disappoint. And so, no milkshake. And you hear, oh, hold on. And at this point, I'm thinking, do I reverse and just ram the minivan out of the way? Like, could my Nissan Altima just push this idiot out of the way so I can get home and get back to work? But no, finally they figure out that they won something, blah, blah, blah. And the voice of Jonathan Panette is running through my head the entire time. Get out of the line. Get out of the line. It's McDonald's. You have not seen this menu board for the last 50 years? Just get some cheeseburgers and get out of my way, which is what I get. Anyway, this is my life, dealing with idiots. All right, so let's sum up here as we get close to 1 o'clock, as I've driven away most of the audience with that story. And the Penguins have potential this year. It's not on Mike Sullivan. Do not. That's just a no-fly zone to me. That's venting frustration. I get it. That's venting anger. I get it. Mike Sullivan has not lost the room. Has not lost the team. Just kind of stop there. The Penguins need a little bit of help. Personnel-wise, they need help on defense, and they need somebody, a center or a winger for lines 2 and 3. 1 or 2 players. I liked Matt Murray's rebound. We'll get into that probably after the next couple of games. I want to see games 2 and 3 for Murray before I pass any sort of judgment on the work he was doing with the goaltending coach. But the Penguins are close. It's a mental thing. They can win. They can beat the Capitals. They can beat the Lightning. They can beat Toronto. If they accept that they're strong old men and not the kids anymore. All right. That is gonna do it. I appreciate everyone logging on the chat today. Whoever called me, I will find you and I will kill you. All right, kids. Check out Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Check out our lovely sponsors. Beaver County Auto. They'll make a Beaver believer out of you. If you're buying a car for Christmas, check out beavercountyauto.com. I'm Dan Kingerski. We'll talk again soon, kids.